Hi everybody, it's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, and so I am here to share another project. Today I wanted to show you how to make triangles. Triangles have become pretty popular on scrapbook pages and stuff. And the paper pack I'm using, this is an oldie from close to my heart. It is called Chalk It Up. And it is obviously school themed, and my daughter is 27 and is not in school. So, you know, you think, gosh, I don't really have a use for any of that. But when the colors are so cool. They are really great. There's Lagoon and our old color Sorbet, which is very much like smoothie, and black. Some of the prints are very kind of chalkboard looking, like a school print. And I love the colors, just love the colors. The only color in this I'm not crazy about is this greenish gold color here. It was flaxen, which is one of the older colors. But I just wanted to show you what I did with it, because I've been working on my Disney pictures, and so if you look, it doesn't look like a school themed kind of thing. It has the triangles. Hold on a minute. Knock it off. Gosh. My dog thinks I'm talking to him. He is barking back at me. Okay. Okay. So, you can see I have multicolored print. I have the different colors cut as triangles. On page 2, I continued the triangles and the same kind of border on the side. And I was thinking, you know, this is Epcot, so this is a Disney thing, and I have some more. I left a couple of places down here and right here where I plan on adding a few more Disney related decorations and some journaling. But I wanted to show this to you because my first thought was, you really can't just go by the one big hero print in the theme and go, yep, that's not for me. I mean, if this is the only print I looked at, I would never, I would just never use it. So make sure you really pay attention to the colors and see if it's something that you like in general, because you can figure it out. Okay, the other thing, the actual technique I wanted to show today is how to make these triangles, because these triangles look so easy. Have you ever tried to cut them on your own though? It is almost impossible to get equal-sided triangles if you're just cutting with scissors. And so I wanted to show you how to do that. I pulled out my mat. This is a Cricut mat, but I have others that are like quilting mats. And I want to show you that a lot of quilting mats have these angles on them. I'm going to bring this closer so you can see. I hope you can see. But basically there's like a 60 degree, a 45 degree, and a 30 degree angle line. Excuse me. And then there's also quilting rulers that you can buy that have various angled lines on them. These are great for cutting triangles. They started selling a lot of like dies and things to trace to cut triangles, but it's just so not necessary. So I want to show you a couple of different ways to make an equal-sided or an equilateral triangle. Let me, I'm going to move my camera back a little bit so that I can make sure that you can see the bottom of this. Okay, so whatever size of triangle you want to cut a strip of paper. So this is I chose a 3-inch strip of paper to make a 3-inch triangle. You know, you can make any size. And in my layout that I made, this particular one here, these are 1.5-inch strips that I cut into triangles. The way this works basically is you take your paper strip and you put it right in the corner at the 0 mark, and you line it up along that bottom line right there. So you're just lining it up. And then you have a blade. I'm using my X-Acto style blade and a ruler. And you're basically, an equilateral triangle is at the 60-degree line. It's a 60-degree angle. So when you put the paper right in the corner and line it up at the bottom and put your ruler right on that 60-degree line, you can then make a cut, and then this piece is scrap. And then you can see you've got one side, you've got a side of your triangle done. Now you flip it over, and then this little corner right here goes into your 0 point. Just like that. Right? So it's lined up on the bottom. Right here, it's lined up with that bottom line. This point is at the 0, and again, you put it on that 60-degree line and make a cut. And there's your triangle. Ta-da! So now if we want to continue, you flip it over, line it up, again, that point with 0, line it up with the line, and then you put your ruler on the 60-degree mark and make a cut. Right? Then you've got your next triangle. And then again, you flip, put it in a corner, and cut. Now notice that you can also make 45-degree triangles, 30-degree triangles. These are like long, and even at the 30-degree one would be good for, like, you know, if you think about this angle of triangle, that would be kind of cool at the bottom of a big page. So this is just one way to cut triangles. Now, if you have a quilting ruler, or you have a ruler that has angles on it, like this one has a 45-degree angle, and if you notice here it says 60, I just put my ruler on this cutting mat, and I drew that line on there so I could use it. And now I have a 60-degree mark on my ruler. You can kind of see it better maybe that way. Anyway, when you're using a quilting ruler, the way you use it is that you line your paper, instead of lining it up with this bottom line of the mat, you would line your paper up with the 60-degree mark right here, and then you would make your cut. And then you flip your paper over and do the same thing. You line up your paper with the 60-degree line and this corner with your ruler. So that's how that works. So that's another way to make an equilateral triangle. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So we have 2 ways of making triangles now, right? The other way is there's an origami way, which is, I don't know if you guys want me to show you that. There's a lot of YouTube videos on taking like a sheet of paper and folding it like you would fold it in half like this. And then you take this point and it goes, this point lines up with your fold. And then this point gets a little pinch, okay? And then this point goes up and lines up with this fold. And if you have a square, you'll turn it over and you'll have like your equilateral triangles. So that's a weird way of doing it. But I think this is the easiest way, is to use the angle on your quilt mat or on your quilt ruler, and then you can just make as many as you want, multiples. Okay, so I'm gonna move this out of the way for a moment because I wanna show you another layout. So I really like this layout. I really like how this looks. I like how it has the border on the side that is repeated on page 2. And it's not exactly the same, but it's it makes for a really neat design in the center. And I thought, well, I'd like to try it with a current paper pack. So what I did was I started to put together a layout using Aurora. So this right here is a 3-inch border of that mountainy variegated gray ombre sort of paper. And then this could be a zip strip or a 1/2-inch strip of cardstock. And then this is a 1 1/4 inch strip. So I just made like a border essentially. And then I repeated it on the other side. And I already attached it. And then I made all my triangles, just like what I just showed you. These triangles are 2-inch triangles. And so they're a little bit bigger than, like these are the 1 1/2, and these are 2-inch. So you basically start with a 2-inch strip for these, and you don't need a lot. And then you just kind of play around with them. Now I want you to notice how the triangles go on the page, because it is kind of, it's like, it's easy to get this kind of screwy. So think of them in long lines, so that if you were to continue this page, you know, just like you were cutting on your strip of paper, you know, one point is up, one point is down, one point is up, one point is down. And so you can play around with it like that. And then the next one, point up, point down. So we need a point up and a point down. The idea to making this look really cool is making your gaps very similar size or as same as possible. I don't get out a ruler and measure anything. You'll notice none of my stuff is that perfect, but if you try to kind of keep everything in line, notice I have both pages kind of lined up at the top, and my strips are kind of nice and even. And then we just continue. Point down, point up, point down, point up, up, down. So up and down, down, up, and the paper patterns that have these little arrows on them, I was trying to get them all to always go in the same direction, but I cut this one weird, so it doesn't work the way I thought it would. So all my arrows are pointing the right directions except for this one, but I will live with it. And then the other thing is, when you're using the Close to My Heart cardstock, you know, one side is dark and one side is light, so you can really change the look of your layout if you like this, these two pieces are actually the same color. I just turned one over and I like how that looks. I really like how that looks a lot. So I would just glue these down. Now I like to use a liquid glue for stuff like this, but I find tape runners kind of a pain on these little pieces with pointy edges. I would rather just use a liquid glue. And this is the mono liquid glue, and it when you use it pretty sparingly. You don't like use big globs. But what's nice about this is that it gives you just a moment to reposition. Like, see how it's like a little crooked, so I can straighten it and I can mess around with it a little bit before it dries, right? And then same way for this, I just keep going. So when I put my pieces on, I really try to keep them approximately the same spacing, and then you just continue up the way. I don't think you want to watch me adhere all of my triangles, but I just thought I'd show you that. And then the last part is adding photo mats. Hi Noelle, how was work today? Noelle finally got to go back to work after having coronavirus. Yay. Jen got to go back to work today too. Sephora's not quite open yet, but they had like a massive cleaning training day, so she was at work today too. Okay, so like here's our page. For this, I did a 5x7 photo, and you know, I don't get a lot of my photos developed 5x7, so you might notice in this one, I did the same thing. I made it for a 5x7 photo, but I used a 4x6, and I just, you know, made it work, and it just looks like giant photo mats. So I really like how that looks. And so this is the sapphire blue and the eggplant with the peacock color, and I do have it popped up a little bit in there. I have just a little bit of foam tape in there because I just like the dimension. And then I'll put this here or here, depending on my title that I use, right? And then on this side, I ended up using the eggplant with some of the charcoal, and I like the lighter side of the charcoal. So I really like how that looks. And I have a tendency, to cut all my photos into like 3 different sizes. Basically, everything's got to be a 4x6, so I don't have to chop down my picture, a 4x4, so that I only have to cut off the sides, or sometimes a 3.5x5. Not very often. But this seemed like it fit really well, and I wanted it on foam tape popped up, and you'll notice I left a little notch in there because it's gonna cover up that bottom photo just a little bit, and I want to be able to tuck my picture in without any trouble. So for example, if this was my picture, notice I keep using pictures on my dog, you know, I'll be able to tuck it in there, where if I had photo tape on the edge, it would bump into it and I wouldn't be able to center it on my mat. So I just left that little space in there, you know. Anyway, actually this picture looks really nice on here. I was thinking about using this actually for Father's Day and putting pictures of my dad on here. That was the other thing I wanted to tell you, is that, you know, the mountains are calling and that kind of thing. It's not exactly my theme. I am an indoor girl, not an outdoor girl. But I do think, see, look how cute that is. I can make a Murphy page. Anyway, I probably won't use The Mountains Are Calling on here, and I will instead make a Father's Day or a pet page or something like that. Anyway, so what do you think? So this is the one that we just did, and obviously not all glued down because my triangles keep bouncing around. And then this is the one from the old Chalk It Up. Ta-da! Do you like learning those techniques, like how to cut triangles and stuff? I have kind of a list of things that I have learned over time that made me go, oh my God, I had no idea how, I have tried to cut these triangles by hand and screwed it up so badly. So learning how to cut those is kind of a big deal for me. I am not a quilter either. I've made one quilt before, but anyway, feel free to copy this layout. It's basically a 3-inch strip with a zip strip or a 1/2-inch stripe, and then a 1 1/4 inch pattern, and then your triangles. And I just repeated on the same side: 3, the 1/2 inch, the 1 1/4, and it could be any combination. You could make this 4-inch, you could make it wider, you could make it narrower. It's whatever. The main thing is it's kind of fun to learn how to make the triangle thing. And this is very flexible. You could turn it sideways. Here, just in case you're wondering how I did this this thread, what I do before I put the paper down is I put adhesive on the back of the whole design. So I have, like, this is the mink twine, and I would just take my adhesive and tape runner and put it on the back, and then I lay this on the back and actually glue, adhere it, so that I'm not fussing with it so much. So when it turns to the front, I can just tie it wherever, and it's loose so that I can put my picture in place without adhesive being in the way. So there you go. I agree. I think triangles are really hard to cut. And what's really interesting is when you're trying to put them together different ways, you don't realize all the different patterns that you can make, using the triangles. And so I have a tendency to fuss with them a little more than I need to, but anyway, there you go. I hope that you guys like that, and I will see you next week. Don't forget to sign up for the Close to My Heart Aurora scrapbooking session at the end of the month, because remember, they draw prizes for people who say they're going. Even if you don't go or you don't do it with them online, you still can win the prizes. See ya!